Welcome to All Pro Football Data. My name is Jim Cobern, and today's episode we're going to be talking about LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels in terms of his production data profile. So, first off, let's talk about the mobile quarterback score when it comes to his data. So, the score derived for the mobile quarterback score is rushing market share, touchdown per rush percentage, and yards per rush measured against positional peers. The current data set for this statistic is 1,276 quarterbacks since the 1956 NFL draft class. Now, the mobile quarterback score is not a score that is incredibly correlative at the position. It's more so descriptive versus predictive, because for most of NFL football, you don't really have to run with the football to be a productive quarterback in the NFL. We've had guys in the past like Tom Brady, like Peyton Manning, for example, who were not rushing quarterbacks. Not like how it is nowadays, where it's almost a prerequisite for them to run the football. It's also why a lot of people don't like Brock Purdy that much because he doesn't really have that data set. But in terms of Jayden Daniels, you do at least want to be above average. And the one thing I can tell you about Jayden Daniels is he has the highest mobile quarterback score in this particular draft class. Now, for the terms, you can look at the description of the video if you want to get the terms and all those other sort of things for this. But Jayden Daniels, all you really need to know is he scored 90 plus percentile. For starters, Pro Bowlers, and All Pro players, you just want them to be above average in a lot of these different metrics, or at least average in terms of that. So Jayden Daniels hits at least those areas, and it also tells you that this is a quarterback who can rush the football. He's a quarterback who can rush the football. He's a quarterback that can be a dual threat quarterback. And in today's NFL, that's definitely something that you want. Now, moving to the best quarterback score in career quarterback score, this is where Jayden Daniels kind of falls off a little bit. The best quarterback score, or BQS, is derived from a quarterback's best statistical season in college based on a 10-year sample, college sample, including the touchdown to interception ratio, the completion percentage, the strength of schedule, strength of team against positional peers. Now, the reason why I did a 10-year sample for this is because I compare the overall score, what they do in a 10-year sample, against every single quarterback since the 1956 NFL draft class. Why? Because I'm trying to compare this quarterback not against Dan Marino. So if I'm trying to add Dan Marino to the data set, I'm trying to see how Dan Marino made it. I need to go, okay, what was Dan Marino like against his positional peers? Because obviously, if you look at Dan Marino's data today, he was like 50% in terms of his completion percentage. A little bit above that, but definitely not fantastic. But when you actually compare it to his positional peers in the era in which he played in the 70s and the 80s in college, uh, he looks great. He looks phenomenal. He was 90 plus percentile in terms of his overall quarterback score when you look at it from that perspective. So the reason why the 10-year sample exists is so that you can look at the correlations in different eras to see if these metrics matter, and they do matter, because based on this data set, which includes 5,359 quarterback performances since the 1956 NFL draft class, the average All-Pro score for the best quarterback score of a prospect coming out in the draft is 96.06 out of 100, which is a phenomenal score. It's like getting an A+. You look at the All-Pro threshold. So excluding outliers, though, the threshold for All-Pro quarterbacks, which is at least 3 All-Pro considerations in their career, first team All-Pro considerations in their career, is 87.07 out of 100. When you look at the Pro Bowl average, the average is 87.60 out of 100. The threshold is 50.09 out of 100. The starter average is 85.51, and the threshold is 37.04 out of 100. Jayden Daniels had a 98.11 best quarterback production score last year in 2023, which is why he won the Heisman. He was probably the most productive quarterback in college football last year based on his overall data. Now, when you get to the quarterback career score, or CQS score, It's a average of all scores of a quarterback's college football seasons. It's essentially the mean of his quarterback career. So, based on that particular score, the average CQS score for an all-pro player is 92.45. The threshold is 86.43, excluding outliers. Brett Favre. I'll talk about him in another video. Actually, I already have talked about him in a video on this show, back in the day. If you look up Brett Favre analytics, you should pull up that video on this channel. The Pro Bowl average is 75.53. The Pro Bowl threshold is 40.31. The starter average is 74.64 out of 100, and the starter threshold is 20.03 out of 100. And for Jayden Daniels, he hit a 74.63 out of 100. Now, that's not a bad score. That's in the range that you're looking for in terms of a starter to Pro Bowl level quarterback, but it doesn't quite hit the all-pro potential area that you're looking for. What does this mean in terms of the draft? That's really up for debate, because this particular draft class has a lot of generational talents, which I'm going to talk about in future episodes on this channel. But he definitely hits all the marks you're looking for from a quarterback. In terms of his quarterback production score, he just doesn't quite hit elite numbers. I wouldn't necessarily call him a generational prospect, is what I'm trying to say. A rare prospect. He's definitely good, but he's not tremendously rare, if you will. Now, last point, in terms of outlook, Jayden Daniels profiles well as a long-term starter to Pro Bowl level quarterback based on his data. His best data comparisons are Cordell Stewart and Trent Dilfer. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, okay, first of all, who the hell is Cordell Stewart? If you're an older person, probably even older than me, you know who Cordell Stewart is, but he's a former quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers and definitely hits the style of Jayden Daniels pretty well in terms of being a running quarterback who is a good passer, but wasn't exactly a great passer for most of his career as a collegiate, which is kind of what Jayden Daniels is. He developed as a passer in college and then peaked in his senior year at LSU. Now, his best other comparison is Trent Dilfer. And yes, Trent Dilfer is known more for being a draft analyst, or at least right now he's a coach at UAB. But Trent Dilfer was a dual threat quarterback at Fresno State. He was a mobile quarterback. His passing efficiency wasn't that great, but he was a mobile quarterback, and of course he was able to put those things together and end up being a quarterback on various teams at the NFL level. However, in today's NFL, I think he could far exceed these expectations due to his style of play. So, what do I mean by that? Just because I'm a data scientist, a data analyst, doesn't mean I can't look at the data objectively and go, all right, this is what the data has been in the past, but what are the trends recently? The last 5 years, we've had quarterbacks like, one, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson had a great mobile quarterback score, but it wasn't that great in terms of passing efficiency. He was good, but he wasn't great. Kind of very similar profile to Jayden Daniels, but Daniels actually was a better overall passer compared to Lamar Jackson coming out. Now, regardless of what happened in the championship game and a lot of Lamar Jackson's career, he developed as a passer. So he was able to kind of develop as a passer. He already had that ability to be a rushing quarterback, and he combined those things and ended up being a great player in today's NFL. Look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen had a good mobile quarterback score, but didn't really do well as a passer. His passing efficiency was awful, and a lot of people forget about Josh Allen in his early years. He was awful. He was terrible the first couple seasons on the Buffalo Bills until he actually developed as a passer. Then, of course, another most recent example, Jordan Love. He was a great mobile quarterback score guy, but his passing efficiency in college was not great at all. Again, the trends are this, and he's found success. If you have a guy who has a great mobile quarterback score in today's NFL, in the modern NFL, at least in the last 5 years, the trend has been great mobile quarterback score, and then you add in the other dimension of at least developing as a passer. Jayden Daniels is a lot more developed than Lamar Jackson. He's a lot more developed than Josh Allen was, and a lot more developed than Lamar Jackson was as a passer. So he has those positives to his game that I think give him an advantage to where he might be the best version of those types of guys that we've seen in recent memory, if you will. Now, he also could just be okay. You know, he could just be okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but he could just be okay. But I think people really do sleep on Jayden Daniels because he has the experience, he has the BQS score, he has the mobile quarterback score, he has all the sort of traits that you're looking for at the position, if you will. He may not be the best in terms of his overall size. I don't think he's gonna weigh very much when it all comes said and done, and people might criticize that. But ultimately, when you look at where the NFL is going and you look at his profile, he should be considered one of the best quarterbacks in this particular draft class. Now, is he better than Caleb Williams? Is he better than J.J. McCarthy? Is he better than Drake May? These are questions that I'll answer in other videos in the future. But for right now, I think Jayden Daniels is the most consistent quarterback that's meeting the trends that are happening right now. So even though Cordell Stewart didn't make it in the 90s as well, if he had come out today, he might have been a lot better. Same thing with Trent Dilfer. If Trent Dilfer came out today compared to when he came out back then, he might have been a better quarterback. He might have had more success in today's NFL compared to the past, if you will. I still think the fundamentals, though, of quarterbacks in terms of the touchdown to interception ratio, the completion percentage, I still think those are big, important things that matter today and will continue to matter in the future. They're the things that separate a guy like Patrick Mahomes from a guy like Lamar Jackson, the things that separate Patrick Mahomes from a guy like Josh Allen, the things that separate Patrick Mahomes from a lot of these other guys was his passing efficiency, which is one thing that Patrick Mahomes did really well, was that ability to do really well as a passer, not just rely on his athletic ability and his ability to make plays with his legs. So, with all that said, thank you so much for watching this episode. My name is Jim Cobern. You can follow my work at Jimetrics on Twitter. You can also check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/jcoburn. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace!